We're all rushing to get AI tools into our workflow, right? But what are the hidden dangers lurking just beneath the surface? We're about to break down how all that convenience can create some catastrophic risks, and, more importantly, how one simple defense can stop a major attack dead in its tracks. Let's get into it.
You know, the best way to wrap your head around the risk we're facing is to picture a long line of dominoes. Every new AI tool we connect to our systems, well, that's just another domino in the line, linked to all the others. And as we're about to see, it only takes one little push for the whole thing to come crashing down.
And this isn't some hypothetical what-if scenario. This really happened. In the recent SalesLoft Drift hack, a single compromised AI tool led to a data breach that exposed over 700 companies. Think about that for a second. One tool, one breach, hundreds of victims. That's the stark reality of the AI world we live in now. So let's start by digging into that domino effect. We're going to see how a single point of failure in this new AI supply chain doesn't just cause a small problem. It can shatter your entire system, revealing just how vulnerable so many companies are without even knowing it. To really understand the danger here, we've got to think like the bad guys. So let's follow their trail step by step and see exactly how they managed to turn one tiny vulnerability into a massive data heist. This is the anatomy of a modern AI hack. So here's how it all went down. It started with a classic infiltration. In step 1, the attackers get into a GitHub repository just to look around. Then step 2, they hit the jackpot. They find these sensitive OAuth tokens. You can think of these as the literal master keys to the kingdom. With those keys in hand, they move to step 3, using them to waltz right in and pretend to be a trusted account with high-level privileges. And finally, the endgame in step 4. They just start methodically pulling customer data out of connected Salesforce accounts. It was patient, it was methodical, and it was devastatingly effective. And just look at this timeline. This was not a smash and grab. The first break-in happened sometime between March and June, but then silence. The attackers just laid low for months. They didn't make their big move until August, and the actual data theft took place over 10 days. That kind of patience is exactly what makes these threats so incredibly hard to spot. So this whole mess really blew the lid off 3 huge risks that come with AI integration. First, there's broad access. I mean, for an AI to be useful, we have to give it the keys to everything: our contacts, our emails, our calendars. Second, this creates trust blind spots. An AI slurping up tons of data is just normal. So how on earth do you spot a hacker pretending to be the AI? And third, you've got the supply chain effect. Hacking one AI vendor can give attackers the keys to other services they're connected to, which just multiplies the damage. Okay, so we've been talking about these sophisticated external hackers, but what happens when the biggest threat isn't some shadowy figure in a hoodie, but it's your own employees who are just trying to get their jobs done a little faster? And this brings us right to the insider AI threat. It's this world of what people are calling shadow AI, where employees, with the best of intentions, use unapproved tools because they're convenient, and in doing so, they unknowingly punch huge holes in the company's security. And you will not find a better or frankly scarier example of this than in the healthcare industry. 71%. Let that number sink in for a minute. That is the staggering number of healthcare workers who admit to using their personal AI accounts. We're talking their own ChatGPT subscription to handle sensitive patient data and do their jobs. Convenience is just steamrolling security policy on a massive scale. And if you thought that was bad, oh, it gets worse. A whopping 81% of these policy violations involve what's called protected health information, or PHI. We are talking about some of the most sensitive, most regulated data on the planet being fed directly into completely insecure systems. You see, this creates a gigantic compliance challenge. Most of the public AI tools out there, they just don't meet the incredibly strict HIPAA standards for handling patient data. So using them could actually be a legal violation. And it's not just AI. People are using their personal Google Drive and OneDrive accounts for work too, creating even more risk. And all of it, every bit of it, is driven by that simple human desire to be a little more efficient. Okay, I know so far this has all been pretty bleak, but here's the really good news. These catastrophic breaches are not inevitable. It is absolutely possible to defend against these exact kinds of threats. So how's it done? Well, let's take a look at a company that got it right. This slide really says it all. On one side, you have hundreds of companies that became victims. On the other side, you have Okta. Now here's the crazy part. They were targeted by the exact same attackers using the exact same stolen keys. But for Okta, the attack just failed. It went nowhere. Why? Because those stolen keys were completely useless. So what was their secret weapon? It was something surprisingly simple, and it's a security fundamental: IP whitelisting. This is basically a security rule that says, hey, that access token, that key the hacker stole, it can only be used if the request comes from a pre-approved list of trusted locations. If an attempt comes from anywhere else on the planet, it's just blocked, automatically. And that's the whole point. Okta surviving this attack wasn't luck. It wasn't some happy accident. It was the direct result of having a deliberate, thoughtful security policy in place before the attack ever happened. They planned for this, and it worked. Which brings us to our final and, honestly, our most important section. We've seen the problem, and we've seen proof that there's a solution. So now let's build out the playbook. Here are 5 crucial measures you can put in place to protect your own organization from this AI domino effect. All right, step 1. Implement defense in depth. That means layers of security like the IP whitelisting we just talked about. Step 2, protect your authentication tokens like they're the crown jewels, because, well, they are. Step 3, monitor your AI's behavior. You have to know what normal looks like so you can immediately spot something weird. Step 4, audit your integrations. Seriously, if you're not using a tool anymore, turn it off. And finally, number 5, reevaluate your supply chain. Treat every single new AI vendor as a brand new door into your network. And we can't forget the insider threat. To build what's called a human firewall, you've got to block risky apps that don't meet your security standards. You need to scan your traffic for threats and use data loss prevention, or DLP, to flag when sensitive data is going somewhere it shouldn't. But maybe the most important thing of all, you have to train your people. They need to understand the real risks of shadow AI and know exactly which tools are safe and approved for them to use. Ultimately, it all comes down to this right here. You can't outsource your security. You can't just assume your vendors have it all figured out. Your defense is your responsibility. It takes active, deliberate work. And that's really our key takeaway. Look, the pressure to innovate with AI is huge and for good reason, but that rush absolutely cannot come at the expense of security fundamentals. We have to be just as thoughtful about securing these tools as we are about rolling them out. So, I'll just leave you with this. In today's world, the question isn't if your AI tools are going to be targeted, they will be. The only real question left to ask is, are you prepared?